before he has to depart.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for being here. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Your comments have been powerful, compelling, courageous. We appreciate your time to be with us. New Orleans welcomes partnership. You may have read that there is going to be a sweep to send some 250 agents into New Orleans. We welcome partnership, but we do not welcome occupation. What's being planned for our region is not real public safety. It's a political stunt wrapped in badges and guns. Up to 250 Border Patrol agents being lined up to sweep through New Orleans, Jefferson, St. Bernard, and beyond. With almost no notice, no transparency, no meaningful coordination with local leaders. These are militarized federal agents who are not trained in municipal laws, not trained in de-escalation in our neighborhoods, do not know our communities, our culture, or our people. This is a recipe for fear, confusion, and mistakes. We've already seen what this looks like in other cities. In Charlotte, more than 20,000 children stayed home from school because families were terrified of raids. An American citizen was arrested. In Chicago, there are reports of helicopter deployments and tactics that look more like a war zone than a neighborhood. Now they want to bring that same approach to New Orleans under names like Swamp Sweep or Catahoula Crunch. This is not cute. There's nothing cute about our families living in fear. There's nothing funny about workers being told not to show up to work because their boss fears they will be picked up and disappeared into systems that they do not understand. Most immigration violations are civil matters, yet operations are being designed and marketed like parliamentary shows of force. If President Trump truly wants to help New Orleans and the surrounding parishes, there are ways he can do it. Help us recruit and retain well-trained police officers. Help fund modern tools, technology, and data-driven policy. Help invest in training for de-escalation and mental health responses and community engagement. Help strengthen the partnerships between federal, state, and local agencies in a way that is transparent and coordinated and accountable.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So I wonder how this guy suggests to go about getting criminal aliens out of this country. He's talking about working with the community or whatever. Like, you know, the local law enforcement is not technically allowed to enforce immigration. So what are you talking about? Support your local law enforcement and the community leaders and all this. Well, he's been announced this for a while, so you can't tell me that, oh, it's coming unannounced. You clearly know about it, so if you clearly know about it, why don't you tell everybody else? Like, these people just don't make any sense. The thing is, they don't want immigration enforcement at all. Not in the least, folks. They want these people to be allowed to stay in the country. And, you know, I wonder why that is. You know, we've been going over all this for over the past several days. If you want to know exactly why Democrats want criminal aliens in this country, go check out my last few videos, especially the committee hearing videos where I've been discussing the census, folks, and that is a major component as to why Democrats want criminal aliens and as to why they built these sanctuary districts and cities and all this other nonsense. I love this hearing. This is going to be a little bit different. I'm probably going to interject a little bit because you got witnesses coming in and going out and talking about all this and that and this and that. So I probably will interject a couple of more times. It's not going to be just your straight up, you know, like 10-minute clip or whatever. So get ready for that. But you guys smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. Click the join button. Sign up and become a member. That's the best way to help this channel expand and grow. But without any further ado, folks, here is the rest of the story.
But not like this. You do not build trust by dropping in armed agents who answer to Washington, do not understand local laws, and then sweep through commercial corridors and neighborhoods. You do not build safety by driving families into shadows, emptying out workplaces and classrooms, and creating an atmosphere where people are afraid to call police when they're victims or witness of crimes. As a congressman from New Orleans, I'm saying very plainly, we will always stand for the rule of law. We will always stand for safe communities. We will always stand against tactics that terrorize families and undermine the trust that true public safety requires. Our community is not a backdrop for political theater. Our people are not props. If this administration wants to partner, then be a partner. Sit down with local officials, share your plan, respect our laws and leadership and our lived reality on the ground. Help us, but not this way. Don't terrorize us. Don't treat people like animals. I cannot tell you how much I appreciate your courage to be here today, all of you, for your advocacy and for your experiences. Ms. Shah, based on what you've witnessed with the Trump administration, weaponizing the government and military against citizens in Chicago, what can the residents of Louisiana expect if the Trump administration follows through with plans to send U.S. Border Patrol and National Guard to our state?
Congressman Carter, thank you so much for your remarks and how clearly you delineate the real problem here, which is that the Trump administration is putting forward a false public safety pretext for what it is doing. In fact, the Border Patrol deployments, the troop deployments, they're about consolidating power. They are not about creating safety. They are creating chaos. That is what we have seen in Chicago and Los Angeles. The Trump administration is also misusing government resources that are supposed to be devoted to public safety. As a Cato Institute report recently showed, 25,000 federal law enforcement officers have been redeployed from their main missions, which include combating human trafficking and sex trafficking and drugs. They've been redeployed to civil immigration enforcement, going after people who pose no threat, who just want to be with their families and continue to working and living in this country. That threat of misuse of federal resources is all the more acute as we come up on the World Cup and in cities across this country where the FBI and federal law enforcement are supposed to be focused on preventing sex trafficking and child trafficking. Are they going to be redeployed to go after our neighbors and our loved ones who do not pose any threat?
Okay, so that whole spiel right there was just completely disingenuous right there. Okay, so the Trump administration, basically what they're doing with all that, like she says, they're consolidating power. Like, how? The power he has already consolidated, the power that's been consolidated within the President of the United States since the inception just about of this country? The National Guard, for crying out loud. Like, what are you trying to say here? Oh, he's just consolidating power. Yeah, that power's been consolidated. It was consolidated under Biden. It was consolidated under Trump. It was consolidated under Obama. It was consolidated under Bush. It was consolidated under Clinton. It was consolidated under Bush, Reagan. Shall I go on? Carter, all of these people, right? It doesn't make any sense whatsoever what this lady is trying to say right here. And you know how she's talking about, well, this is not in the interest of public safety. Well, you know, you've got all these criminal aliens out there. We don't know who these people are, why they're in this country, because they decided to circumvent the process by which we allow people to come into this country the legal way. Why did they circumvent that process? That's a question that must be asked, right? There must be a reason. And then she says, you know, all these federal law enforcement officers that have been redeployed, you know, we covered this in a news article yesterday, I believe. You know, this is because the border is absolutely shut down. There is no need to investigate crimes that are no longer being committed. Right? Like, that just doesn't make any sense to do. Since Donald Trump has pretty much shut off access to that southern border, there is no need to investigate crimes that take place across that southern border. There still are, right? They haven't pulled everybody from that, but they pulled the vast majority. Any crimes that do get committed or, you know, suspected of being committed or anything like that, there are still investigations going on. It's just not as widespread as it was because there's no need for that, because the border is effectively shut down. Let's keep going.
Thank you, Reverend Black. Thank you, Ms. Shaw. Reverend Black, I've got one quick question, and my time is already far spent. Reverend Black, it is nothing less than shameful that you were assaulted by masked ICE agents simply for praying outside of an ICE processing facility. I represent many Catholics, and I was glad to see that the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops issued a special message last week that expressed strong concern about the vilification of immigrants and recognized the fundamental dignity of all persons. Do you agree with these statements?
Absolutely, I do. And thank you for representing New Orleans. I love New Orleans and the soul of that city. And as you were speaking, I was just reminded that oftentimes the soul gets stronger as the body is attacked and weakened. And that's what we're seeing across this country right now. And I'm grateful for the solidarity across faith communities, that Protestants and Catholics are coming together without any regard for theological difference, because there is a moment of solidarity and uprising that we share across faiths. And New Orleans is a city of many faiths and so much soul. So thank you for representing it well.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Chairman, I yield. Thank you very much for your generosity in allowing me to speak.
Thank you very much. I will now recognize the gentleman from California, Mr. Correa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank our witnesses for being here today. Dr. Shapiro, you talk about doing something. Most important thing we can do today, any day, is make sure that this kind of behavior on our streets does not become normal, does not become routine, because that's exactly where we're going right now. Mr. Brown, I want to thank you for your service to our country. Okay? Your wife, Donna, in the U.S. for almost 50 years. You talked about statistics. Right now, the administration is saying that they're going only after criminals, hardened criminals. Tell you the numbers I've seen, 70% of everybody they've apprehended, no criminal record whatsoever. So I would say 30%. 30% of the others would be criminals.
I'm not sure what numbers he's looking at, but as we covered yesterday, that is absolutely not true. It's 60% of the people that are being arrested and detained are criminals, and the other 40% are not, as a matter of fact. Let's keep going.
Would you call Donna a hardened criminal because she had a misdemeanor?
My wife and I, when we don't work, we're ministers. We help the needy. That's what we do. And that's who they're arresting. It's not criminals. My wife is in jail right now, and there's a French person there, I won't mention names or anything, that literally came up to the immigration counter getting her green card, and they arrested her and put her in jail.
This is a very common story, but let me ask you, sir, Mr. Brown, it's my understanding you also voted for President Trump.
Yes, sir.
Why did you vote for him?
Because I was an idiot.
Can you be more specific?
The 80% of the evangelical Christian people were lied to, if you really want to know the truth, and that's exactly what happened. They said criminal, and I believe criminals need to be off the street.
I just want to make sure people watching this understand who you are.
Well,
and who Donna
is. Criminals need to be off the street, and I agree with that.
They're not
that's
criminals.
What's sold. Correct. But if you watch the news channels even today, they're talking about all the heinous criminals that they're getting. And truth be told, there's been about 800 actual criminals that they've gotten off the street.
That's just clearly not true, because he mentioned right at the beginning of questioning this dude that she only committed a misdemeanor. Newsflash, folks, that is a crime. Misdemeanors are still crimes, right? This lady must have done something to get arrested and then detained by ICE, right? You don't just become a citizen, have a green card, and you get arrested and detained and deported by ICE, right? Not without committing a crime. I'm sorry. The Trump administration is absolutely just not going after immigrants, people that are in the country legally. There's no reason to. We want these people to come to this country. They are making things up is what they're doing. They're just lying to everybody. But let's keep going.
Donna is also the mother of a Marine.
Yes.
An active Marine in Okinawa today.
Yes, sir. We actually have his dogs.
And I think it's important. In back home in Santa Ana, I have a father to 3 U.S. Marines who's also been apprehended.
Yes, sir.
And I asked that Marine, do you know any Marines in your situation? He says there are many Marines in Camp Pendleton whose parents have been apprehended, but they're all terrorized of coming forward to speak about their situation.
Yes, sir.
So we know then President Trump is not focused on criminals, but rather average families.
Yes,
You're
sir.
an honest, hardworking family,
Yes, sir.
and they're going after you.
Yes, sir.
You're a mixed family. Actually not. Donna has a green card.
Yes, sir.
You're an American citizen.
Yes, sir.
Her son's a Marine.
Yes, sir.
How do you explain the fact that she's been apprehended?
You can't explain it. It's absolutely nonsense. And there's two separate laws for immigrants and U.S. citizens.
Let me ask you something. Got a minute left. President Trump was asked in 60 Minutes, when he was asked if his tactics had gone too far, President Trump said, "No, I think we haven't gone far enough."
There's zero reason to hurt people and families. We've literally had migrant workers in this country for 1,000 years.
Good,
And
productive migrant
absolutely,
farm workers.
100%. I grew up in southeast Texas, sir. Without migrant workers, things wouldn't get done. It's that simple. 250 farms in California have shut their doors because of the fact that they've taken all the workers away.
In the last 19 seconds I have, I would just ask everybody in the audience, anybody who's watching this, do not be silent. Speak up.
Yes,
I
sir.
want to know how many people have gotten victimized, how many people have gotten wrongly arrested, because according to our Homeland Secretary, no American citizen has gotten detained or arrested.
There's been over
We all know
170.
that's incorrect and that's an absolute lie.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Please, we cannot hold our silence. This is a very critical time in our histories of our country. Thank you very much.
Well, my
Chairman, I'm out
my
of time.
answer, sir,
Well,
is
like-
I'm going to be an advocate for the rest of my life for this.
Thank you so much.
And I'm with you, sir.
Okay, look, I'm sorry, folks. I call BS on that dude's testimony right there. Like, look, he starts talking about, I voted for Donald Trump and I didn't vote for this. Yes, you did, my dude. Like, what are you saying here? Like, yeah, sure, you might be an idiot if you have an immigrant wife whose legal status in this country is in question, right? Her green card may have expired. That's probably why she got picked up, or maybe because she committed a crime, right? Once again, folks, like, that is so ridiculous. We don't want criminals in this country. If you're going to come into this country, even through the legal process, and then start committing crimes, look, I'm sorry. We don't want you here anymore. We've had a flood of immigrants in this country, right? And once again, it's not about the color of your skin, because that doesn't matter. We have Hispanics by the truckloads that are already in this country, that are permanent legal residents or U.S. citizens for that matter. Once again, my wife is Hispanic. Do you think I want? No, she's an American citizen born here. Right? So race doesn't matter. That's not what it is, folks. It's the fact that this country was flooded for 4 years to the tune of 15 million illegals. That's just illegals. That is not even to mention the 4 million legal immigrants that came into this country and the 3 to 5 million gotaways. That's a lot of people that have come into this country over the past 4 years. That it puts a stress on resources, that puts a stress on housing, that puts a stress on just about everything, folks, right? This is part of the reason, the housing market is the way it is right now. People, Gen Z can't afford a home. And he's talking about, like, that was one of the dumbest statements I think I've ever heard in my life. There's been immigrants in this country for 1,000 years. You mean in the area? Because this country hasn't existed for 1,000 years, my dude. And look, that might be slightly semantic, just slightly semantic, because I understand what he's trying to say. But look, if you want to say that, yeah, that when it was Mexico, yeah, those weren't migrants, though, were they? Once again, slightly semantic, but not really, because let's get to the point here, what he's actually trying to say. He's trying to tell you that you won't do the jobs that immigrants do. Well, yes, I agree. American citizens will not do the jobs that immigrants do for the wages that immigrants do them for, right? We are creating an underclass, basically indentured servants with this criminal alien work program that we've got going on in this country. Right, these people, they don't get all the same benefits from their job that you do. They don't get paid time off. They don't get any of that. As a matter of fact, if they miss work, they get replaced by another criminal alien. Right? Their wages are low. Their wages aren't the same as you. They don't have to pay the minimum wage. A lot of them don't pay taxes. And then some of these people receive government benefits. That's where it really kind of crosses the line for me. Like, look, I don't mind people coming into this country to work, right? But we have several different visa types that you can get to come in and work. You know, seasonal, year-round, H-1Bs, H-2Bs, there's all kinds, right? I could just sit here for ages and name out all the alphabetical types of visas that you can get to come into this country. You know, you got exceptional aliens, there's all kinds, folks. So anybody that tries to circumvent that process, why would we want you here? Like, why? Why can't you do it through the proper means? That way you'll be able to get all the benefits that American citizens get. You will be paying taxes, sure, but you can also be available for government benefits through the legal process. These people are advocating for these people to break the law. That is what they are doing this entire hearing. That is all it's about. And they'll say, oh, it's just immigrants. Well, no, they're not immigrants. Look, I'm sorry. If you decide to break the laws of a country by, entering that country illegally, you're not trying to migrate to that country. I don't understand why these people don't think like this. Like, it's ridiculous. They're not migrating, right? Migrating is going through the legal process and moving to a country, melting into that pot, right? Assimilating into the culture and becoming a average everyday person of whatever country you're going to migrate to. You don't migrate to a country by flying under the radar the whole time, trying to evade Border Patrol or evade taxes or evade this and evade that and working under the table. No, that's criminality, folks. And I am glad the Trump administration is cracking down on all of this. This is great. This hearing right here is a sham. Just blatantly sham. They are advocating for criminal aliens, folks. That's what they are doing. And it's absurd if you ask me. But I think I've rambled on for long enough. Y'all let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. I think these people are insane. I don't believe that dude voted for Donald Trump. The ACLU is going to do what the ACLU is going to do and advocate for people to violate our laws. That's what they are doing there. Advocating for these people to violate U.S. federal code. So that is what is going on. There's nothing I can do about it. There's no other way I can frame it but that way. But, like I said, y'all let me know what y'all think. That's all I got. Don't forget to smash that like button for me. Subscribe if you're new around here. Share this video anywhere and everywhere you can. Click that join button. Sign up and become a member. That is the best way to help this channel expand and grow. And I need y'all's help, y'all. Abso-freaking-lutely. But, it's the end of the video, so I gotta throw this in there, y'all. Look, Jesus died on the cross to save us. And we must be grateful for that. We must be grateful. And just understand this one thing. Look, God has a plan for you in particular. You may not see that plan or understand what's going on or the end result of that plan, but I can promise it will benefit you in the end. So, you guys try to remember that. Stay legitical. Peace.